G'day guys, Dobbs here for BGLMedia and welcome back to the channel. Today's video will be a couple of suggestions ahead of the new AFL game releasing this year by Big Ant Studios. I'll go through what AFL Live 1 did well back in 2011, which was a Big Ant game, the only AFL game Big Ant had developed. And then also what I believe AFL Evo 2 did well, that was made by Wicked Witch and published by True Blue Entertainment. I wasn't a massive fan of AFL Evo 2, but there were a few innovations in that game which I think are pretty necessary come the new AFL game anyway. I'll go through some changes and just some general additions anyway. So let's get started. We'll get started with AFL Live 1. So this is what Big Ant can build on from their last game. We already know with this new game they're using the AI from Live 1, but using that as a starting point. So they've already got the AI. Now they're building on top of that. They've got the smarts for that. They've hired a couple of AFL assistant coaches on the payroll to actually improve that AI. So, it's going to be a pretty good AI, at least anyway, on the new game. But yeah, what AFL Live 1 did well, we'll get started with the salary cap in list management. I can't remember the exact figure. Was it 11.5 million? I think you might have had per team. And then your best 22 absorbed that salary. And then outside of that, I think, as long as they're under the threshold, it didn't really add toward the salary cap, which meant online you couldn't have OP teams. We did still see some, with custom teams and like massive heights and all that kind of stuff. But in general, the salary cap was pretty good. It was pretty good for the competitions as well. Now, what I think they need to change with this, if they implement it in the new game, is the fact you can go over the cap. So just say you're in list management, you purposely go over the cap. It will save, rather than in Live 1, I don't think it did. It wouldn't let you exit. So just say it lets you exit, but as soon as you go to an online matchmaking game, it won't let you find a public game while you're over the salary cap. If you're doing a custom game, there should be a toggle to have salary cap on or off. So just say if you're doing an online competition, which we love doing here at BGLMedia, and we'll be doing 3 divisions for Season 1, and we'll give you a link designed for that one shortly. It's going to be cross-platform. But yeah, you'd probably have the salary cap off, given the fact that, you sort of want to build the best team you can. And we sort of identified in Live 1, it wasn't always possible. We sort of had to play with player stats, which we generally don't like doing. We like going in with what the game stats are. The next one's gameplay. I love the spoiling in AFL Live 1. It just felt normal. It felt like how it should be. It wasn't clunky at all. You could come from 5 metres away and still come and hit the pack and spoil it. And that's what you wanted to do. The Wicked Witch games, Live 2 and Evo 1, really bad at spoiling. Evo 2 wasn't the worst, but it was still very clunky in comparison to a 2011 game. Team tactics, AFL Live 1 thought they did them brilliantly, attacking, balance, defensive, all that kind of stuff. And they'll add to that, given the current game the AFL is at, how the gameplay, the evolution of it. There's a lot more flooding and man-to-man and slingshotting. So it'd be good to see a lot of those tactics brought into the new game. Next one, I did just say AI is fantastic, so we'll go to the next one. Ease of using the D-pad interchange system. Now, if you haven't used this before, AFL Live 1, on the fly, you used to be able to just click your D-pad and you can make your interchange or you can make your substitute, which I thought was brilliant. Especially when you're in an online game, if you paused, it wouldn't actually pause the game like FIFA does. It'd just keep playing, so you didn't really have time to do that. So you just have to use the D-pad, which I ended up, mastering pretty well. AFL Evo 2 had it, but again, very clunky and just didn't work the way it probably should have. Kicking to leads, AFL Live 1. You used to hold L2 and you used to be able to load up your power bar and it'd actually kick it out in front of them and they'd lead to the footy. And this is a big thing in AFL games. Evo 2, they did have that feature, as again, wasn't implemented as well as Live 1. Online, it almost didn't exist. But yeah, Live 1 was really, really good. And that leads to the next one, which is the feel of actually being in control. When you're playing AFL Live 1, whether it's offline or online, you always felt in control of the game. It wasn't clunky at all, which I've already said probably 5 times this video, but it just was, in my opinion, the best AFL game when it came to just feeling like you're actually playing a game of footy. It was really good, represented the game really well. And yeah, you just felt like you're in control of the game, especially when you're a couple of goals up. You just felt like you put your foot on the pedal and just keep going. I personally like the set shots in Live 1. A lot of people didn't like them. They said unrealistic. If you're a right footer, it's going to go right to left, so you got to aim right further. So it's like you're aiming at the points and all that kind of stuff. But how hard is it actually to make a set shot everyone's going to be happy with? Like, I think it's going to be really difficult. Live 1 did it really well. Like, it had, just say Lance Franklin, for example, he was a left footer, and it would tell you on the screen, but if you would line up for a quick set shot and you thought he was a right footer, then you'd hook it even further right. But we'll go back to him, a normal set shot. So you go out to the left, and I think if you're directly in front, you almost got to aim out of bounds on the left-hand side, because he used to hook it quite a bit, Franklin, in that game. Whereas just say a Jed Lamb back when he used to play for the Swans in that game, he rarely had any hook to it. So it was about identifying and learning your players and how they actually took a set shot. Obviously, wind was taken into account as well. So I just thought it had a really good balance. It might have been on the easier side of things, but you still had to learn your players. I think we saw in it was at the grand final site, the live site, Big Ant had the setup there, and I think I showed videos thanks to Jared Gunner, BGL member, in the last video. He was there recording gameplay, and that set shot actually looked really good, where you could sort of pinpoint where you wanted it, and then you sort of had to time 2 different bars in order to power it up and kick it straight. So I think they will run with that. I think they were still unsure on whether that was going to be the final go from what I was reading on Big Footy, but I think everyone was happy enough with that, so I'm pretty happy if they run with that. Ability to individually select which positions to tag. Now, this one probably needs a bit of tweaking in AFL 23. In AFL Live 1, you could tag every player on the ground, and it just had a big tag fest, and it was just so congested, it just wasn't funny. So maybe if there's a cap on who you can tag or how many players you can tag, maybe. But yeah, definitely individualising the tag. So, just say you put someone in the centre, they're going to probably tag the rover or the ruck rover, which would be a really good feature to bring across from AFL Live 1. So that's basically the things in AFL Live 1. There's a lot of other things in Live 1 I really did like, but I don't have 3 hours to talk, so we'll go over to Evo 2. Now, this one for mine, and I'm not sure whether Big Ann are a big fan of this, up to 8 consoles online. Now, we had this for the our online competitions in Evo 2. You could play 2v2 or 4v4. So it just didn't mean, you and a mate sitting at one house and 2 other guys sitting at another house. No, these are all at different houses. So 4 different houses for a 2v2 game, 8 different houses for a 4v4 game or a 1v8 and I think it worked really well in the online competitions. It was really fun. We did like State of Origin, this and that. 4 of us from Vic, 4 from Tassie, do Vic versus Tassie. And it was really, really fun to get a lot of the competition involved. I thought it was a really good feature. They ran a peer-to-peer connection, so you are relying on all 8 consoles having really good internet. But we knew with Evo 2, their online connection, despite internet, was very subpar. And I think this might be a little bit of hesitation from Big Ant, because usually their peer-to-peer connection through their games are a lot better, and that definitely was in Live 1, that I don't think they really want to tarnish their reputation by going up to 8 consoles on peer-to-peer, but I really, really hope they do. Ease to change Guernsey numbers. Now, Live 1, you could do it semi-easily, but as soon as you hit player number 50 and above, it just resorted to number 1, which, you could have 4 number 1s on your field, so I wasn't a big fan of that. But Evo 2, you could easily just go into the team management, just click your middle button to go to Guernsey numbers, and you could change it. There was no duplicates, and you could go from 1 to 99. So yeah, it was really good. Can edit a licensed player's preferred position. Now, Evo 2 didn't just have like a left back pocket preferred position, it'd just be like a small defender or a key defender, basically. And I thought that was a really interesting way to take it, given the way the AFL has come over the last 20 years. I think, positions exactly, like, doesn't matter if you're a left or a right back pocket now, and you got people that are swingman and all that kind of stuff, but editing a licensed player's preferred position's huge. Like, for example, Tommy McCartan was a key forward on Evo 2. He's now a key defender for the Swans, so it's good to be able to switch that up, and I hope you got a little bit of play there with licensed players and editing them to an extent. We've seen Cricket 22, it's very restricted, so hopefully the AFL a little bit more lenient on it, and you can, at least change a preferred position. Dribble kicks. Now, my good friend as Lowry, loves his dribble kicks, always wanted him in Live 1, they never came, and then Wicked Witch implemented them. And they were a little bit dodgy, but you can see they were going on the right path. So hopefully AFL 23 can go, yep, you know what, we need to have dribble kicks, let's get them in there. Link up handballs. Now, the link up of handballs is really good. It used to put a circle around the player you're handballing to, so you knew exactly who you were handballing to, whereas in Live 1 it was sort of just a bit of guesswork, just wherever you're sort of pointing the analog stick and clicking circle. So yeah, link up handballs, another thing, you know, a chain of handballs, especially with the running rebound play that is in the current game. It'd be really good to see. Tapping along the ground as well. Evo 2 had it, wasn't great. I did read on Big Footy, Big Ann already looking at bringing in the tap along the ground. It is in Cricket 22, pretty much like a boundary catch. You can tap it back into play, or if you're saving a boundary, you can tap it back into play, and it's going to be a similar mechanic to that in AFL 23. Option to toggle snap banana torpedo on set shots, where you could only, on Live 1, I think you held R2, and it would just sort of guess whether it's going to be a snap banana or a torpedo. And then without the R2, it was just a drop punt. So you can actually physically click buttons in Evo 2. It was really good. And in AFL 23, we saw at the live side as well that you could actually toggle your set shots. Another thing on top of that I'd like to see is the ability to change your foot, because the check side, if you're in the right forward pocket as a right footer, not a lot of right footers in the AFL now will go the check side. They'll go on the left and come around the body. So hopefully you can change your feet on set shots. Loose man in defence, Evo 2, I thought they did it pretty well. The only thing was there was no real tactic to counter that. So if AFL 23 were to introduce this, I'd like to see at least a counter tactic to at least mark that man. Even if you give up a bit down the line, I feel like, you know, that's a tactic we probably should be able to have there. It gives you, you know, a vast range of customizable options in terms of tactics and which way you really, really want to play your game. And that comes back to the feel of actually being in control of the game. I think the clearance kick was the right idea. However, I think it just went too high and too far. I like the idea of a quick kick out of a congested situation. They just couldn't get it right. But the idea of it, you know, just a quick kick out of a pack and, you know, maybe drop a couple of metres short of your centre half forward or the centre half back from the other team, you know, not something that's just going to go up to the moon and back, but something that just sort of just gets it out and sort of frees up the play. Ability to choose the captain or even co-captain. So this, was a feature in Evo 2, and I think that in Live 1, it was just the best rated player in the end. So, which isn't always the case. Nick Maxwell. Anyway, ability to choose second ruckman and kickouts. I think this is massive. Evo 2 still somehow had a glitch with this, but if it had worked, it would have worked really well. At least you can have a ruckman coming off the bench into the ruck, or you can have a key forward that's a Charlie Dixon that can then go into the ruck, or a Finlayson or something like that. And then he goes into the ruck, and whether your ruckman comes off or they go forward, you can give your players instructions. That'd be pretty cool. And kickouts as well. It's just a given. Maybe have a primary kickout taker and then a secondary if your primary is not on the ground anymore. All right. Let's have a look at the changes. Live 1, would have liked to see less congestion and ball ups. I think, it was a bit of a tackle fest. A lot of people said we used to use the bumping to sort of counter that, but it's not the ideal way of replicating an AFL game. And as I just said, as much as I enjoyed that cat and mouse bumping, I think it has to be toned down a bit to allow the gameplay to be a bit more free flowing. I absolutely believe that. I think the speed was too similar. Player speed was too similar in Live 1, whereas in Evo 2, I think it was too far the other way. Some players would just absolutely burn other players in Evo 2 and you just could never catch them. I think this needs to be looked at, as it is a big part in today's game, utilising leg speed off the bench and even with a substitute coming on if there's an injury or something like that. So it's got to be toned and it's got to be a happy medium there, but I don't think it's going to be one of those things where not everyone's happy with how it is going to be portrayed in the game. As long as it's sort of in between those two, I don't mind too much. If I had a choice out of Live 1 and Evo 2, I'd probably choose the way Evo 2 went about it. Live 1, a ruckman could catch a halfback flanker with ease. And I just don't know whether that really replicates the game of AFL. Evo 2, they had options in a marking contest to either avoid a bump, lay a bump, standard mark, or go for a specky. I'd like to see jostling in a contest, maybe using the right analog stick rather than just bumping someone once. It's a bit of a jostle to get the front position and then taking the mark. And then with that specky button, I think the specky button is an okay idea. However, I don't think it should actually make you go for the specky every time. It was either a mark in Evo 2 or it was a free kick against. So it was a very, very risky button where I don't think it has to be like that. I think it can be toned a little bit that, at least you go up there and you might get hands to the footy and you've dropped it or something and it's play on. And at least if you're up there, you get bored out of the game and then maybe there's a free player from the other side on the rebound or something like that. Who knows? I'm guessing you'd have to rely on timing and positioning if you were to tone it. Maybe if you had the right positioning but too early, it might just be a free kick against for unrealistic attempt or something. So, again, it's going to be one of those features I don't think everyone's ever going to be happy with. But, as long as Big Ant can do what they can do, let's hope that they get it right. Additions I'd like to see. I want to see a snap/banana at goal on the run from any position. Now, how often do we see it on the run now? A player will quickly go out and he'll try a snap or a banana at goal on the run. It'd be good to see, and it sort of portrays the current AFL game. Realistic ball bounce, live one, almost soccer ball-like, just kept going and going. And then I think Evo 2, again, was too far the other way. It was just going at right angles all the time. So hopefully, Big Ant, with all the motion capture they're doing, hopefully we can get the ball bounce perfect. Ability to grab the ball out of the ruck. Now, we saw in the grand final just gone. I'm a Swannies fan, so I'm absolutely gutted about this. But the ability to grab the ball out of the ruck and then, quickly kick it or handball it or something, especially how it's not given as prior anymore, I feel like you should be able to grab the ball out of the ruck. So, yeah, Tommy Hawkins did that 2 or 3 times against us in the grand final. I still have nightmares about it. Back in the day, I did recall seeing something from Big Ant about uploading your own theme song. I wonder if this would be possible through some sort of website, like a logo, like how Pez do the logo creators and stuff. If you have like an uploading program, then uploads it into the Big Ant community, because you could choose to have Never Tear Us Apart or something like that, which would be pretty cool. So I'm just spitballing on that idea, but the only problem is, people would upload songs with explicits, and I don't think that's really the direction that Big Ant want to head in, so I'm guessing they'd probably avoid that. However, it would be pretty cool, especially if you, you're a superstar for your local side and you want their theme song in the game. It'd be a really, really good addition, but it's just too many people are going to take the P155 with it. Ability to choose someone to ruck in the forward 50 and D50, which means your ruckman sits at either end just outside the 50. So I think that would be good, especially Charlie Dixon, Tom Hawkins. They're the ones that when they're in the forward 50, they'll take the ruck. Defensive 50, not so much. Sometimes if the full forward will go in the ruck, the full back might, or he'll stay on the goal line and the ruckman will come in. So hopefully they can get the balance of that right. Logo creator. Perhaps an easy way to incorporate a logo creator would be to have a website where you can upload a logo to and upload it onto the community that way. I understand the idea behind the way it is currently done. However, I think we would have a stronger community by incorporating this idea, because at the moment you get a pretty handy Photoshop skills, and yeah, you just got to know what you're doing really to get it on the game. Cricket 22. You got a lot of people from overseas that play the game, whereas AFL is sort of restricted just to Australia. So I don't think we can have as many people on that community making logos. So hopefully Big Ant can find a way to make it a little bit easier. I like how Cricket 22 had a different HUD for each match type. So they had T20s, they had one days and tests, and they all had different HUDs, which was fantastic, really good. And then even if you're playing the 100 mode, it had another HUD yet again. So it's just these little things Big Ant are looking at. So I'd really like to see in like a career mode scenario, if it's a Friday night game, it might have a certain HUD. Then if it's a Saturday night game, it might have a different HUD, or an early Sunday game, etc. Or if it's between two interstate teams, maybe it has a different HUD to sort of maybe give you that feel, like not necessarily a licensed Channel 7 Fox footy, but like a rip-off version, which would make it, it'd make it feel a little bit, a little bit more realistic in the career mode. Just those little things that Big Ant do pay attention to. So hopefully they do something there. And one thing I will bring up from AFL Premiership 2007, I love this game, but gameplay-wise, obviously not the greatest of all time, but it was a really good game, really thorough. I really enjoyed the detailed stats in AFL Premiership 2007. You could see from disposals from that season to career games and career goals per player. I had a glitch on my 07 career mode that I was in 2048 and I had one player that played over 1,000 games. He's still at the age of 18. He just glitched on being 18 years of age. But he was an absolute weapon. And yeah, it just had career games. Like, how good's that? To be able to see through career modes. So hopefully, and I think they will, given Cricket 22, you can actually edit unlicensed player stats and it builds to it. So hopefully with licensed players, you got a little bit of wiggle room there to maybe add in some up-to-date player stats. Okay, this is the last one I'm going to give to you today because we just hit the 20-minute mark, and I apologise for rambling on, but I'm an absolute nut when it comes to AFL games. But the last one, BGL run the online leagues. As I said, I want the ability to spectate online private matches. So yes, it is a peer-to-peer connection, but if you're actually not playing in the game, maybe it uses less bandwidth or something, I don't know. The ability to be able to be invited to that game and not choose a team, and then it brings you into like a spectator mode, similar to like a codcaster on Call of Duty. So you can go to different camera angles, this and that, and it just make the live stream so much better, all the videos, when we're trying to commentate the game and do what we do at BGL. So hopefully Ross has thought of something there. I'm not sure whether that will come in for a few games yet, but yeah, fingers crossed maybe one day. And I think that's about it, guys. I really enjoyed bringing this video to you. This is a couple of notes I jotted down when the game first got announced just about a year ago now. So yeah, these are the ones I really, really wanted to be brought into the game. There's still more I could elaborate on, but that's probably about it for now. I might make another video down the track, maybe with Et, and see how we go. But thanks for tuning in again, guys. If you liked it, please leave a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. That's fine. And yeah, give us a subscribe, and we'll be back with another video in the not too far distance. Thanks, guys. Cheers.